What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the little CNC shop. Today we're going to add some color to this Mario sign that we're making. We have the black carved out. The only thing I'll have to do after we finish the color is go back where this white section is in this hat right here and carve out the M. What I'll do is I'll just make the M a little bit bigger because I forgot to add this to my carve file when I did my toolpath, So we'll do the white last. We'll go back, we'll carve out the M a little bit bigger than it is now, and then we'll fill that with the red that we're going to be making. I've had a couple people in the Facebook groups ask me how I color my epoxy, and what I use is I use airbrush paint from Createx Wicked Colors. This stuff is super pigmented because it's designed to be atomized, so it comes out super rich. So we're going to do the red first, which is going to be his hat and his shirt and his tongue inside of here. So I've mixed up some super clear deep pour. The reason why I use deep pour is because it gives me more working time. So I have about an hour to an hour and a half to work with this stuff, versus if I were to use tabletop, it would start to cure within probably 10-15 minutes because it's so deep. So I have about an ounce and a half for red and about an ounce and a half for blue. I don't know if I'm going to have enough blue in that ounce and a half, but we'll find out. But I just wanted to show everybody real quick how amazing this we'll call it a hack, this hack with using the airbrush paints is, because it allows the epoxy to just become super pigmented, which I found by accident because I was looking for a color and I just happened to do this. So I'm just going to show you real quick. His hat and his tongue aren't super red, but we're just going to show real quick how red we can make this just with a little bit of paint. It does not take a lot at all. Like I said, it's super pigmented. So you can see if you use a couple of drops, it's almost translucent. See, it's almost translucent, but if we add more, we get that nice, rich, deep, dark red that we're looking for. It doesn't affect the epoxy that I've seen. Everything that I've done has cured totally fine. Just want to make sure that we're, mixing it really good, just because, like I said, it is super pigmented. But we're not going for a deep red for his hat. We're going to add a splash of white just to bring it down a tone. I'll share a picture in the video to show you what we're working with as far as colors go. But you can see how nice, deep, and dark and red we got this. It's not pink. It doesn't have that pink hue. It's nice and rich. But we're going to add probably just a drop of white. Same thing. I'm using the Createx Wicked Airbrush paints. So we'll add just a drop of white. It's not going to take a lot because, like I said, this stuff super pigmented. So and that right there looks pretty close. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to pour in his hat and his shirt. Now what I use to pour is I use 20 milliliter syringes with the longer tip, not the short ones that you have to screw in. And then if needed for detail stuff, I do use needles. But one thing I always make sure I do is I always have paper towels handy near me in case I have a spill. I also have Q-tips in case I go into a color that I don't want to go into. So I have all of those near me. So let's get started with the pour. So I'm just going to suck up the epoxy. And I like these because if you leave them closer to the bottom, you get almost no air. So after I mix the epoxy, I let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes to get as many of those air bubbles out as I can. So it works out really good. So let's start coloring. So I just put it in. This stuff's a little bit liquidy because it is deep pour, so I'm probably going to switch over to the needle tip real quick, just because I want to limit how much cleanup I have to do. But you'll see how much easier this is with the needle tip. Now I'm not going for full. I don't want this sitting above the black. I want it sitting just below it, so that when I go back after I'm done and I surface everything, everything will be nice and clean. So we just go in, basically painting it, and just putting enough in that we know it's full, but not too full. So when we look at the side, we want to see a concave in the middle going down, because we're going to surface a pretty decent amount off of this. So we're just going to keep filling. And I'll probably speed this up, and we'll be back when we get to the blue. All right, so we're back. We're gonna do the blue now. I realized I made way too much red, so I split the blue off into two, about 3/4 of an ounce each. So we're gonna do the blue and the white. So we'll do the blue first. Process is gonna be pretty much exactly the same. Like I said, I'll show you guys. I'll show you a picture of what we're working with. It's not a super dark blue, so it is going to be a lighter blue. The red I put in too dark. I mean, the red's just, it's too dark, but it is what it is. I should have added more white, but we're gonna make sure that we don't do that with the blue here. So the process is exactly the same. We're just going to add in, a couple of drops of blue. Then we're going to get that mixed up, really, really good. And then we're going to add a splash of white just to bring this to a lighter blue, like you'll see in the picture. All right, so our blue is ready to go. I think we have a perfect color for it. I matched it to the computer. I might need one more drop. I'm going to put one more drop of white in there. And then just remember, you got to make sure you mix this stuff really, really good. Make sure that there's no, paint strings or anything that, shows separation of the pigments. You just want to make sure that you have a nice, even, consistent color. There we go. That's the perfect color right there. And I wish there was an easy way to get epoxy out of cavities in case you mess up like I did with the darkness of the red, but it is what it is. So, all right, so the process for this is exactly the same. So we're just going to suck the epoxy up into the syringe. Get our paper towel, wipe it off. We are going to use a tip again, just because, like I said, with the deep pour epoxy, because it's so much thinner than tabletop, it's hard to control where it goes. So putting a tip, a needle tip on it makes it a lot easier. So we're just going to do the blue now. And this one's going to be a little bit trickier because some of these cavities are a little bit smaller, but the needle definitely helps. It makes it a lot easier. Get some stuff in here that we're going to pull out. I did vacuum this and blew it out before I started, but some of the corners you can see here just get some stuff stuck in it. So I just go in with an X-Acto blade and pull it out. Not a major deal. And then we'll just wipe it off. Q-tip, just use a pointed Q-tip. Just get in there, get all that stuff out. And that right there is perfect. Should have done a better job cleaning it beforehand, but I failed at that. So we're dealing with it now. Same thing. Just gonna fill the cavities. We're not going, to go over the top of the black. We want there to be a little bit of a space between the highest point of the blue and the black itself, just so we can go in and surface it and know that everything's gonna be nice and smooth, and we don't have to worry about colors mixing in different points of the cut. So. All right, so we have the blue done. Looks like we had pretty much a perfect amount of epoxy in there. Did about, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an ounce left. So now we're gonna do the white. So the only thing that's white is his gloves, his teeth, and then that part in his hat. Oh, and his eyeballs. So like I said, I'm using the same paint I used before. You know, it's the Createx Wicked Colors airbrush paint. It is water-based, it is acrylic. I know some people say that water-based and epoxy don't mix very well, but I am here to tell you that I have been using this stuff for years and years, and it works perfect every time. I've never had an issue with water pooling on the top or any condensation or anything like that. So let's go ahead and get the whites out of the way. So same thing, I'm just opening up a new syringe because I didn't know I was going to do white today, but I made too much epoxy, so we might as well use it. Another bonus with deep pour, like I said, is the working time. You know, with the super clear epoxy that I'm using, the deep pour epoxy, you get hour and a half of working time with it, so it's great. You know, you don't have to rush like you would if you were using tabletop. So we're going for white, so we are going to do probably a little bit more than we've been doing in the other ones. But I mean, the rules still apply. You don't want to go more than about 10% paint to your epoxy, because then you run the risk of it not curing properly, which, you know, nobody wants. So, but you can see when we mix this white, it's super white. And that's partly why I love this. It doesn't, for whatever reason, when you use epoxy dyes or resin color kits, they tend to wash out colors. So if you were to do, you know, white, the white would turn into like an off-white. If you were to do red, it turns pink. Blue turns a lot lighter than, you know, blue out of the bottles that I'm using. So that's why I love this. But again, same thing. Make sure you mix it nice and good. Get a nice consistent color going. That right there is perfect. So we are going to do the same exact thing. So we'll probably speed through this one, and I will be back once we are done with the white. All right, so we're back. All the colors are in. Everything's looking pretty good. A lot of this will be cleaned up once we do the surfacing. I got to go back after everything dries. I got to cut the M out of the white and replace that with red. Easy part. And I might clean up some of the white too. We'll see how it turns out. But all in all, pretty happy with it. Not very difficult to do. We'll do a full tutorial on how to set this up in Carveco, and you can set it up in stuff like easel easily too. You know, this way here everybody can kind of know how to do it. I do have a couple other signs that I have to make, so we'll make sure that we get those videos up as soon as we can. But hope everybody liked it. We'll be back after we'll be back tomorrow after everything dries. We will go through, we'll surface everything on here, and then we will put the final coat of clear on top of it. Hope everyone enjoys your day. Thanks for coming by. Don't forget to drop a like and a sub down the bottom if you like the content. I do plan on doing a lot more videos in the future, so hope everybody plans on sticking with me.